Hey, real quick, before we start, what if I told you the Stonehenge you've seen in every textbook, every documentary, every photo isn't the real one? The stones have been moved, rearranged, cemented back together. And the British government hid it for decades. But here's the thing, that's not even the scariest part. The scariest part is what's underneath, something they still won't let anyone dig up. And today, we're going there. Okay, so let's go back. 1901, Wiltshire, England. A group of men showed up at Stonehenge with ropes, cranes, and shovels. Their official reason? Preservation. But what they actually did was quietly change one of the most mysterious sites on the planet. Stones that were leaning, straightened. Stones that seemed out of place, moved. Stones that were crumbling, cemented. And then it happened again in 1920, again in 1958, again in 1964. That's 4 times in 1 century Stonehenge was taken apart and put back together by modern hands. Now, pause and think about that for a second. The people who built Stonehenge 5,000 years ago, they placed every single stone with insane precision, lined up perfectly with the stars, the sun, the moon. But then we came along and moved everything around, with zero documentation of where things originally were. So the question is, are we even looking at the right layout anymore? Are the clues we're trying to decode clues that we accidentally destroyed? Nobody knows. And honestly, that should bother all of us. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. 2014, a team of scientists walked out onto the field surrounding Stonehenge, carrying ground-penetrating radar. Basically, imagine an MRI machine, but for the Earth. They started scanning, and what they found stopped the entire team cold. Buried beneath the surface, hidden for thousands of years, were 17 previously unknown structures. Massive, ancient, completely invisible from above. Nobody knew they were there. But that's not the part that got me. What got me was this. They also found over 60 giant pits scattered around the site, each one the exact size to hold one of Stonehenge's massive stones. But the stones weren't there. They were gone. Someone took them. Sometime, somewhere. When? Nobody knows. Who? Nobody knows. Where did they go? Nobody knows. So the scientists said, okay, we need to dig. We need to get down there and figure out what these structures are. Permission denied. The government said, we can't allow excavation. It's for preservation purposes. But here's the thing. Archaeologists pushed back hard. They said that excuse makes no sense. We excavate sites way older than this all the time. So why is this one off limits? That question has never been answered. Let's talk about the bones. Because when researchers excavated the areas around Stonehenge, they found human remains. A lot of them. And when they analyzed those bones, they found something that made absolutely no sense. These people weren't from England. The mineral composition in their teeth, the structure of their bones, it told a story. These people had traveled from the Mediterranean coast, from the Alps, from places thousands of miles away. 5,000 years ago. No GPS, no roads, no maps, no cars. They walked for months. The question is, why? Some researchers believe Stonehenge was the ancient world's most powerful healing site, that people came from across the known world desperately hoping for a cure. But here's the darker theory. Some of those skeletons showed signs of violence, blunt force trauma, injuries that don't come from a long journey. So, did these people come willingly? Or were they brought there? And what exactly happened to them once they arrived? We don't know. And that silence is somehow louder than any answer could be. All right, let's shift gears for a second. Because I want to talk about something that even the brightest minds in modern science can't fully explain. We're talking about people who have spent their entire careers studying the universe, mapping stars, calculating the movement of planets. And when those people looked at Stonehenge, they said the precision of this structure is beyond anything they expected from that era. See, Stonehenge doesn't just line up with the summer solstice sunrise. It can predict lunar eclipses. It functions as a fully operational calendar, a working astronomical observatory, built 5,000 years ago. To do the math required for something like this today, you'd need advanced calculus. You'd need computers. These people didn't even have a written language yet. So how did they do it? And honestly, that question alone should keep you up at night. And then there's this. Researchers at the University of Bristol discovered something that barely made the news. The way the stones are arranged at Stonehenge creates a very specific sound frequency. And that frequency, it directly affects the human brain. It can alter your state of consciousness. So think about what that means. This wasn't just a calendar. This wasn't just a cemetery. This might have been an ancient machine, specifically engineered to change how people think and feel. 5,000 years before modern science even understood how sound affects the brain. Let that sink in. Okay, now I'm gonna bring this a little closer to home, because this isn't just a British mystery. New Hampshire, right here in the US. There's a place called Mystery Hill, and locals call it America's Stonehenge. It's a stone structure estimated to be around 4,000 years old. It has the same solar alignments as Stonehenge, same kind of chambers and tunnels carved into the earth, same sacrificial altars. And just like Stonehenge, nobody can fully explain who built it. Now, here's what gets me. Why isn't this in our history books? Why doesn't anyone talk about this? Because if you take it seriously, you have to ask a very uncomfortable question. Who was in America thousands of years before Columbus? Who built this? And is it possible that whoever built Mystery Hill had some kind of connection to the people who built Stonehenge across the ocean? Because if that's true, then everything we were taught about ancient human civilization is wrong. And that is exactly why this doesn't make it into textbooks. So let's bring it all together. The Stonehenge we see today, not entirely original. 17 unknown structures buried beneath the surface, and we're not allowed to dig in. People traveled thousands of miles to get there, and some of them didn't make it out alive. NASA says it shouldn't have been mathematically possible to build, but someone built it anyway. It generates sound frequencies that alter human consciousness. And right here in America, there's an almost identical site that history pretends doesn't exist. So where is the truth? I think it's underground, right beneath those stones. In the dirt they won't let anyone touch. The real question isn't who built Stonehenge. The real question is, why don't they want us to find out? Drop your theory in the comments. Seriously, I want to know what you think is really going on here. Because maybe together, we can figure out what they don't want us to know.